There hasn't been a new asset class since the bond market was created in 1693. Well, now there's a new asset class, and it's called the digital asset space. The question is, are you participating? Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the Crypto Siege with another day in the life, in the crazy life that is the digital asset space. Good morning. Happy Tuesday to you. So, guys, listen, I did a live stream last night on my YouTube channel, Crypto Siege, and I went over this article basically talking about Brian Brooks' discussion, his talk at the virtual consensus conference. I'm not sure if that's the exact title, but it is virtual and it's consensus, okay? And he was one of the people invited to talk as a keynote speaker. And so CoinDesk, who I believe is with consensus somehow, whatever, did an article about his particular talk, and it's titled U.S. Banking Regulator Suggests Federal Licensing Framework for Crypto Firms. And there was an interesting part in that talk that I thought was very, very paramount and significant to the digital asset space. And then here's what I find the very next day. Now, I'm going to go over this banking regulator thing just for some people who did not catch this live stream that I did yesterday. Then this morning, this is what we find. JPMorgan extends banking services to crypto exchanges, Coinbase and Gemini, right? US extends the banking services to Coinbase and Gemini. Let me go over this article, the banking regulator article, and you'll see why this is absolutely significant. So US banking regulators suggest federal licensing framework for crypto firms. This is Brian Brooks, for those of you who are tuning in via video, who is the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency for the Chief Operating Officer. So he's the COO for the OCC, if you will, Chief Operating Officer for the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, right? And remember, this guy came from Coinbase. He came from Coinbase. He just recently left Coinbase to take a position over at the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Yeah, and we also know that from other videos that we've done about this guy, that he is very digital asset friendly. He's very crypto friendly, right? And he also has ties, by the way, to Steve Mnuchin, right? So look, a key bank regulator in the US may be open to allowing crypto companies to be licensed as financial institutions on a national rather than state-by-state level. On a national rather than state-by-state level. Brian Brooks, Chief Operating Officer of the U.S. of the Comptroller of the Currency, the nation's national bank overseer. It's important to understand that the OCC, right, in this position that he holds, oversees all the banks. They're the overseer for the banks, right? So said Monday, so the nation's national bank overseer said Monday, he believes crypto companies could fall under a federal licensing regime if they provide what can be described as payment services. So he believes that crypto companies, it's possible for them to fall under the federal licensing regime. So speaking at CoinDesk Consensus, okay, so CoinDesk is the people who hold consensus, distributed virtual conference. And I signed up for this and I thought I was going to get notifications when they started, but I didn't get it. The former Coinbase chief legal officer, so there it is right there. The former Coinbase chief legal officer said, many crypto companies are payments companies. And it therefore might make sense to treat these startups and other fintech firms like Stripe the same way as banks are treated federally. Crypto is one of those areas where we have to ask ourselves, does it make more sense to think of crypto projects as local projects or global projects? Which one makes more sense? If they're global, then the rationale for a single national license makes more sense, he said, Brian Brooks said. increasingly, it looks a lot like crypto is banking for the 21st century. This would give these startups an alternative to the state-level money transmitter licenses when building operations. Okay, there's a couple of videos here. He pointed to stable coins, some tokens, and remittances as examples of where crypto startups might look more like banking services. I wonder if I can play this video. I feel like I can't play it. The charter is different from the OCC's fintech charter in that it doesn't just apply to lending. The fintech charter is based on the idea that banks took deposits, made loans, and were involved in payments. But some institutions might provide only one or two of these services. These institutions can still be treated as banks under the OCC's fintech charter. Like I said in the stream last night, guys, this is really, really a massive step forward if they go through and continue to follow through with this. I come back to the idea of things that are inherently borderless, like crypto, probably makes sense as a license structure, he said, right? And then there's a title in the next paragraph says, too big to bank, with a question mark. Brooks also addressed the issues some crypto startups have, tapping banking services. Okay, the consensus was just a day or so ago. This guy just spoke a day or so ago at consensus. Brooks also addressed the issue of some crypto startups have tapping banking services, saying any company that is compliant with applicable laws should be able to tap these services. A day or so ago, and then what do we have? JPMorgan extends banking services to crypto exchanges, Coinbase and Gemini. How about that? Well, I would imagine since the former chief legal officer of Coinbase goes to the OCC, and then at a talk a day or so ago at Consensus, thinks that, these banks like JPMorgan should be offering these services to these crypto, quote unquote, firms. Isn't that interesting? As crypto matures, there are increasingly many companies, and by the way, I'm being sarcastic, but in the end, this is great for the overall digital asset space. As crypto matures, there are increasingly many companies that have perfectly robust risk management systems and do not have an ability to comply with those laws. And they shouldn't have trouble finding bank relationships, he said. Again, one of my messages in my new role is going to be to remind my colleagues at the OCC that banks not only have the ability, they have an obligation to serve all lawful businesses. They shouldn't be discriminating because something's a new technology. There it is, guys. I said it was a sound last night on the stream. I said it was this dude had a bullhorn, and he was sounding the alarm. He was putting the word out. He was putting these banks on notice. This is what he is expecting the banks to do. Open their doors, right? Open these crypto firms, if you will, with open arms. That's what he was doing. More proactively, he suggested that crypto startups can potentially even replace the existing banking infrastructure, though he stopped short of saying that outright. Of course he did. There are technologies that exist that can decentralize and reduce the single points of failure that our economy is mostly built on, he said. If you think back to the lessons of the financial crisis, is that there are a small number of financial crises. It's that there are a small number of institutions in our society that are really so big and so connected with so many people's lives that, in the words of 2008, they were thought to be too big to fail. Massively powerful, guys. Brian Brooks is on our side. He is on the digital asset space side massively. Decentralizing the risk could, if not outright, replace this issue. At least help provide some solutions, he said. Banks would have to learn from crypto startups as they continue operations. How about that? Banks would have to learn from crypto startups as they continue operations. I think that crypto is going to feed the banking system and change our view of what the bank charter is about. He said, this is the National Bank Overseer. Powerful. And so let's go on to the JPMorgan article. I think thanks, shout out to people from bankingdive.com. Bankingdive.com, pretty cool. JPMorgan extends the banking services to crypto exchanges, Coinbase and Gemini. US exchanges, neither one of them are my favorites at all. Coinbase blows, Gemini blows. But in any case, I digress. Dive brief. JPMorgan Chase is extending banking services to Bitcoin exchanges, Coinbase and Gemini, Bitcoin exchanges. Ugh. The first time the nation's largest banks has accepted clients from the first time. Hilarious. The first time the nation's largest banks have accepted clients from the cryptocurrency industry. People familiar with the matter told the Wall Street Journal. The bank will not process Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency-based transactions, but will provide cash management services and handle dollar-based transactions for the exchange's US-based customers. It will process wire transfers and deposits and withdrawals through the automated clearinghouse network, the journal's sources said. The accounts were approved last month, and transaction processing is just the beginning, the publication reported. Dive Insight. The deal with Coinbase and Gemini continued JPMorgan's warming trend toward crypto platforms. Yeah. I'm sure they're warming up. What happened is they realized that they couldn't strong arm the technology, and that the technology was going to innovate around them. They get that this technology can easily displace them, right? These banks can easily be disintermediated, right? Easily, like my Margine Delatine pointed out, right? So they're not warming up. They're not open arms necessarily. They see the writings on the wall, and they better pivot really, really quick. As recently as 2017, the bank's CEO, Jamie Dimon, called Bitcoin a fraud and said he would fire in a second anyone at JPMorgan found to be trading in Bitcoin, yet secretly behind doors through an alternate office, he was purchasing Bitcoin. It's not a real thing. Eventually, it will be closed, Dimon said during the Delivering Alpha conference that year. It won't end well. Someone is going to get killed. Yeah. How about that, Jamie Dimon? And Bitcoin may go to its demise, maybe. The digital asset space is here to stay, my friend. You can't have a business where people can invent a currency out of thin air and think that people who are buying it aren't really smart. These are all Jamie Dimon's quotes, he added, according to The Guardian. If you were in Venezuela, Ecuador, or North Korea, or if you were a drug dealer, murderer, stuff like that, you are better off doing it in Bitcoin than US dollars. There may be a market for that, but it would be a limited market. He's such a genius. He is such a genius. Some people sometimes are just so smart that they're stupid. Jamie Dimon would fall into that category. Dimon, however, has been a booster of blockchain technology upon which Bitcoin is built. JPMorgan Chase last year said it successfully tested the JPM coin, a digital currency meant to speed up payments. Now, let's not forget, guys. JPMorgan made all those statements about Bitcoin, and in the background, he was buying Bitcoin. Okay, don't be fooled. JPMorgan Chase last year said it successfully tested JPMorgan Coin, a digital currency meant to speed up payments. The bank also plans to merge its blockchain unit, Quorum, with the developer consensus, consensus, CYS, a different consensus. Reuters reported in February, the bank said it wants to use Quorum to issue JPMorgan coin to settle interbank transfers. That whole coin within the banks thing is not going to work. Banks had resisted dealing with coin exchanges for years out of fear of regulatory scrutiny or concern that such ties would expose banks to money laundering, right? That money laundering thing is just such a joke and it's such BS. There is no bigger money laundering asset or tool than the United States dollar, than fiat currency. Coinbase and Gemini, however, are regulated by multiple bodies. Coinbase is registered as a money services business with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and Gemini obtained a trust charter from the New York Department of Federal Services in 2015. Both exchanges have gone through the rigors to operate under the NYDFS bit license framework. Guess who else has done that? Yeah, that would be Ripple, the fintech company out of San Francisco that is now a blockchain infrastructure company. All right, so license framework and our licensed money transmitters in multiple states. Again, guys, no small coincidence that Brian Brooks from the OCC, formerly of Coinbase, comes out at this particular conference, virtual conference, and says, look, these banks need to open their arms to these crypto, if quote unquote, crypto firms. Ugh, that's a bad picture there. Let's go to this picture. Let's go to the guy who gets it, Brian Brooks, right? So guys, listen, this is absolutely great and outstanding move. It definitely proves that we're moving forward. It really feels like Brian Brooks is going to continue to push regulatory compliance. He's going to kind of push it forward and make sure that the digital asset space begins to get regulated, begins to get embraced. Overall, it is a 10-10-10 for the digital asset space, guys. All right, listen, I'm going to wrap up this video like I do all of my videos and remind you of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather us remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating, or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know, that the battle for you has already been fought, and the victory is yours. Go get it. I'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya. Bye.